Welcome back to the Meeple Marathon. Today we are taking a look at Ezra and Nehemiah. This is from Garfield Games. This is from their Ancient Anthology line. So think Hadrian's Wall, Legacy of You. So these do not fit into any of the, or this does not fit into any of the, their normal trilogies like the West Kingdom, North Sea, South Tigris, things like that. So this is based on a true biblical story about Ezra and Nehemiah who return to Jerusalem and help rebuild the walls of Jerusalem, as well as spreading the word, giving people the experience of the Torah, things like that. So this is a somewhat little of a mini tableau builder, in order to determine the strength of the actions that you can take and also what actions you're going to take. So we'll get into all that here in a minute. Typical kind of smaller size Garfield Games box. This is how they used to all be. Now they've moved for their trilogy games to being in the bigger boxes, but these Ancient Anthology ones are still in this small box. But let me tell you folks, there is a lot happening in this small package here. So a decent rule book. I don't think this one is too complicated, but it's certainly up there in weight. So, but typical standard Garfield rule book here. We've got a cloth bag that we're really only used during setup, but it's a nice cloth bag. All right, here we have a player board, and this is actually the solo board. Yeah. So there's two sides, 1 star versus 2 stars, to increase in difficulty. But we'll see the cards that you'll play on here later. Basically, there's like a focus card and a scheme card, and you'll flip over one of each to determine what actions it's going to take. It's going to follow some of the same tracks, but also basically everything either becomes silver or gold for them. All right, here is one of your player boards, which are really nice. These dual, nothing on the back, just black. Dual layer boards. So there's slots here to hold your jugs, but then there are these tiles that are going to slot into here that can be flipped over. And you can see there's also places here to put various workers. And then down here is where you're playing out your little mini tableaus. Your tableau is only ever going to be 3 cards. But there's going to be banners of various colors on those cards, and the banners that you have up and facing you give you the options you have for doing those actions and the strength of those actions. Again, a lot of this will make more sense, but there's 4 of those. To my knowledge, I don't think that this is going to gain any sort of expansion, so I think this is always going to be a 1 to 4 player game. All right, here is the board. I'm actually going to come back to the board after we have taken a look at some of the cards so you guys can know better about what we're looking at here. So we'll come back to that. Lots of baggies, baggies. All right, let's start with the stuff in the bags. So here's your resources. You have your stone, your wood, gold, and charcoal or cinder. Cinder is black, basically fire ash. So there's resources, and then you have really 4 different player colors here. So everybody's going to get a certain number of meeples, and then some are going to be off in a supply, and you can gain more workers throughout the game. Some you'll place out and they'll come back. Some you'll place out and they never come back. They stay out on the map. So each player has that, and then they have their own various things that are going to go on the board. So altar, flame, track. I thought that, interesting. I thought that the score tracker had a 100 side on it, but it doesn't seem to. and then a little tent marker. Again, we'll see that. And then each player will receive 1 jug of each color, and then these 2 funky meeples here are to track things throughout the game. All right. So, not a whole lot of cards, even though this is a very card-heavy game. We got a lot of cardboard here. So let's just take a look at everything one at a time here. So first off, we have coins. Personal preference for me, I just stick with the 1 set of, I think, West Kingdom Trilogy coins I have, and they work perfectly fine for every Garfield game I own. But these are the tiles that you see are going to be slotted into your player board. So these are double-sided because at first, for example, this one, you're going to start with these 2 resources. You're only going to be able to hold this many resources. But if you pay 7 silver, you'll get to move your tent 1 action on the board, but also flip this over. Now all of a sudden you get 2 victory points at the end of the game. This Sabbath action, you get to take this action here, and now you can hold an unlimited amount of resources. So this one particular tile that sits up in the upper left corner is the same for everybody, but all the rest of these are going to be different. And again, they're all double-sided, so different things are on the back. So I'm not going to look at each one of these individually, but you guys can, if you care to pause or things like that, you can see those. All right, next up here we have the bottom of our kind of Tora track and knowledge track is going to have our main characters here, and then you'll see that there is this display on the main board, and so these 3 tiles will always fill up the bottom, and then these tiles here are going to be filling up the top. So as you can see here, these are the middle 2 rows, some brown ones, some gold ones. These are where you're going to be placing a worker down, and then they stay put permanently. Lots of iconography on here, lots of things that you're probably not going to remember the first couple times you play through, but from reading the rule book, everything seems to be that if you're familiar with a Garfield game, you should have no problems figuring it out in no time. One thing I do like here is that they have the coins, but then they have a 5 marker that looks really nice. All right, and then we have food. So you are going to need to feed your workers. Typical Reiner Knizia here, but he's not involved with this game. You are going to need to feed your workers, but you can also spend food to take certain actions. So this is just another resource similar to silver. And then everybody has one of these boards here that is basically just a player reference sheet, but it's a nice cardboard reference sheet. So there's going to be 4 of those. And then this is for the solo one. So this is just if you're playing against the solo bot, the solo reference sheet for you. Last but not least, we have some more 5s here. This is the first player marker. And then this is an overlay tile for the temple that based on certain player counts, 1 to 2, 3, and then 4 is what's printed on the board. It changes up this the layout of the temple, and then we just have a few more resources. You'll notice that there is not a ton of resources, silver and food in this game. There's going to be lots of access to wood and stone, maybe even some gold, but not much else. Okay, so let's take a look at these cards first. All right, we have a nice setup reference card, really just to help you once you kind of understand how to set up you can have this out. You shouldn't have to look at the rule book, things like that. So, all right. 3 unique cards here at the top. If you are the first to put your worker down and keep it there on those tiles we saw earlier, you're going to gain these cards, and they're going to give you, instant bonuses, but then they're also going to give you, you'll be able to tuck them, and they're going to give you permanent flags of a certain color. And these appear to be double-sided. I don't think there's any difference in them. Yeah. All right, then every player in their player color is going to get a set of the same cards. I'm pretty sure they're the same. So you would get this, if you were the purple player, you would shuffle these up, and then you would have these. So let's just go ahead and give them a quick shuffle. You would have these, and at the beginning of every one of your turns, you have to choose a card in your hand, and you're going to draw up a certain number at the beginning of your turn, and then until the end of the round, you're not going to draw up any more. Or no, you always do draw one more. Sorry, I think you draw up 4, and you always have 4 in your hand, yeah. But 2 things you're really looking for here is the banners that they represent. The difference between the ones in the brown and the ones below is that if you tuck a card, the one in the brown is always going to be available. It's going to become a permanent banner for you, as well as this action that is taken during the Sabbath. Otherwise, as long as it's face up in front of you and not covered, you have access to those banners. You also have access to this kind of trade action, which is kind of a free bonus action you can take on your turn. So these are all different. Here you can trade in 1 stone for 2 silver. You can do it as many times as you want. Or here you can pay 3 silver for 4 food, or 5 silver for 6 food, but you can only do it once. So there's various trades here. All of these gates too, if someone else controls this gate, you have to pay them a silver. If you control it, then nothing happens. They've all got names. Typical artwork here is pretty straightforward, but the biggest thing is the banners. So as you start to play out, you'll maybe say this and this and this. And so now when it's your turn, if you have these 3 cards face up, you could take a red action with a power of 4, or you could take a gray action also with a power of 4, because 1, 2, 3, 4, or you could take a blue action with a power of 1. Not advisable. But as you continue to play, each round of the game consists of 6 turns for each player, and then the Sabbath, this represents a week. So 6 days in the week, and then the Sabbath is the 7th day. So there's only 3 spots, so eventually you're going to have to come and cover one of these guys up. So you're going to say, all right, I cover this up. Now I have a really beefy red action I can take of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. And each stack on your player board can only have 2 cards at a time. So the next person would have to go either there or there, and then the next person would have to fill that up. Then during the Sabbath, you're going to choose one of these guys to lose, but they're going to be tucked. And actually 2 of them are going to be tucked at the end of the second round. So you'll gain their permanent banner and this stuff up here, but you will lose access to everything else on their card. And that is pretty much how you play the game. Super quick tutorial. Everybody also is going to have some wall cards in their colors. So let's stick with purple here. So these are going to be when you do take the actions to rebuild the walls around the outer edge. You'll have access to, I think you draw 2 of these and get to choose one. Basically, you're going to get some bonus or some victory points. You're also going to get some instant rewards based on what you place down. So you can rebuild the walls in your specific color, so this banner will matter. Also, there are, these are the solo cards here. There are some blank walls for if you're playing with lower player counts, you'll go ahead and fill in some walls. And then we have gates specifically that are going to sit out. They don't belong to any one person until they are built and then claimed. So you can see this is another spot where a Meeple would go out and not ever come back. And then more solo cards. So just a quick look at the solo here. This is going to give you their trade action that they can take if they have it available. It's also if they need to, say, build a wall card or place a worker down in a certain space. This symbol here, and with the arrow pointing counterclockwise, will cover a lot of the ties that there might exist if you can't determine where to put a wall card or things like that. So that's the focus card, and then the scheme card. You basically just work top to bottom, and you say, all right, do they have these two things? Do they have 2 workers and 2 gold in their supply? If they do, they will take their specific whatever that action is. If not, then we move down. Do they have 0 to 1 gold? If they do, they gain 2 gold. And then last but not least, if they have nothing, they're going to move up 3 spots on the altar track and gain a worker. Pretty straightforward. So there is all of the cards. All right, let's clear out all of this and bring out the board so you guys can see the board and hopefully better understand what's happening on the board now. And then we'll close out this video. All right, here is a look at the board. So you can see there's this outer wall going around the outside edge of the board. You're going to be rebuilding, you're going to be clearing away the rubble. That's what that bag and all of those resource markers came in. Basically, you're randomly placing rubble out based on the number of little pips here on all these spots. You'll clear this away, and then to build the wall or the gate, you need to spend a certain power of gray and then these resources here. And in doing so, I think it's when you clear the rubble, you'll get this benefit. And then when you build the section, you gain the benefit on the card. So that's the big gray action there. The red action is going to be over here building the temple. So the temple, you basically take a power of your red actions and place down cubes as long as you have them. And depending on what you place here, earns you more instant victory points. But then once you fill up a section here that are outlined by the various shades, it's going to trigger off certain stuff. And if you have the most in a section, or if you were the one that triggered it, certain things will happen. But basically, when you place something down, you're going to gain victory points, but also whatever is across from it, unless you're in this bottom row here. The other red action is the ability to move up, keep the altar burning, which is right here. And depending on what strength you spend to put in the altar, you move your flame along this track. And this is where these 2 little crazy meeples come in. They are going to be positioned along this track. And at at the end of the 3 rounds, you're going to look to see, where am I in comparison to them? Am I ahead of both of them, in between them, or behind both of them? And there'll be certain rewards and penalties based on a card that you randomly place here. So there's a little variety in what happens here. Also, this can be this is where the overlay tile would come into play to change via player count. And then last but not least is the blue actions. That's going to be where the biggest amount of variety comes in the game, because all of these are going to be covered up with those various tiles. You're going to have to spend blue actions to certain strengths and silver or gold to work your way up here, but you're also going to have to start from the bottom and branch up. And ideally, you want to be able to connect a path of your own people all the way back down, or else you're having to pay. But all of those actions are all placed out on tiles, so there's a lot of variety that comes in this area of the game. And then last but not least is your little camp token here that you can spin around this little rondelle. And as you do, everything you pass over is going to give you some benefits. So there you go. That's Ezra and Nehemiah, a very detailed unboxing. I will be doing a full how to play video of this game for both multiplayer and solo, so keep an eye out for that. Possibly a reboxing video. These boxes are not very big, so they generally cannot handle a lot of the nice storage touches that I like to put in them. So if there's anything else other than just putting everything back in baggies and dropping it in that box, I will do a reboxing video as well. But if you have any questions, please please feel free to let me know in the comment section below. I will do my best to answer them. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Once again, thanks for watching. Have a great day.